Un momento, por favor. I'm just about to do a live here. Okay? You don't need to be fighting over toys. You got enough? Huh? Mm-hmm. Happy full moon. And, since we're stuck inside. Hey. What are you doing? Okay. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get started. It is, in the United States, Groundhog Day also. On the Farmer's Almanac, it says it is called Candlemas. On Candlemas Day, if the thorns hang a drop, meaning icicles, then you are sure of a good pea crop. And that is the weather folklore. So if you are looking for something aside from what the groundhog says, because I saw two conflicting reports. So regionally speaking, where I'm at, we're predicted to have an early spring, whereas nationally, Puxatawny Phil predicted 6 more weeks of winter. So who do you love, right? You ever see that one? Who do you love? He loves a car. He rubs it with a diaper. You ever see that one? Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Never had one lesson. He sure knew how to work that computer, though. Hello in the chat. Doing a general, just full moon. So reading since we just had the full moon. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Please do be kind to others in the chat so you do not get yourself blocked out of the chat. That would be foul. Anywho, I keep hearing the limbo music in my head, so and I don't remember if they do that in the movie Beetlejuice. Anyway. Might be significant for somebody out there. Hello. Looks like we have a happy crew today. Let's hope it stays that way. Alive. This here says, may you delight in vitality. Okay, it does happen to be Mardi Gras season, so you might be enjoying some Mardi Gras themed foods, music, maybe even events or parties, right? Okay. And of course, Groundhog Day. Some people have traditions on Groundhog Day as well. Message retracted. Okay. Powerful. May you be as potent as the ocean. You ever hear that? The motion of the ocean, right? Rock the boat, baby, rock the boat. Don't tip the boat over, rock the boat. Yeah. Rock the boat. Who was that? If they were called something association, I want to say. Anyway. That was like I don't know if that was early 70s or late 60s. One of the two. Gratitude. La 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 la. Right? Okay. May you honor all that you receive. Right? Being grateful for those things that we already have in our lives that make our lives easier and more pleasant, right? Again, that taking a celebratory attitude towards life. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Okay, play. Let's see here. May you seek out fun and connection. And you see here, there are some dolphins swimming. Dolphins are social animals, playful animals. Remember, there was a TV show, and I think they made a movie out of Flipper. Okay. So you may be, again, seeking celebrations, events, activities, just being social in general. And there's a lot of folks that contribute socially online as well, right? Things of that nature. Okay. Expansive. May you connect to the whole. Okay. So, if you're feeling alone, don't, because yes, you and all the other dolphins do fit in a way. You may look different. You may travel with this group instead of that group. Like, you ever, especially when you're a kid, you go to somebody else's house and you spend the night at their house, and then you're like, whoa, other people live differently, right? And it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not necessarily a good thing either. It's just different, right? And then, yeah, free here. Yeah. And then sometimes you come home and be like, and you're like, oh, well, so and so's parents live in, and we're like, well, you don't live at so and so's house, right? Exactly. May your soul sing freely. So for any of you that have felt restricted, like I feel like 2026 is the time to, go and expand. Okay. Maybe you're not sure how you fit in because you've never gone out enough. Okay. That could require you to play, to have a playful attitude, to go traveling, visit some, animal sanctuary, zoo type things, and watch the animals, and you'll see how the animals react to each other, right? They're not always so serious or angry or, things what we think of when we think of the outside world, right? It's like, oh, don't go outside. People are mean out there, right? You know, that's not always the case, and especially when we operate in ourselves with gratitude, right? We run into people that we enjoy being around. Okay. Okay. And then, yes, we have free on the bottom of the deck, powerful and alive. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and pull some tarot. So, hello in the chat. So we just had our snow moon, full moon there. So you may have been affected. All right. I was just watching something on the Weather Channel, and they were talking about how during the full moon, the tides can be either higher or lower, things of that nature. And it was some folks that they must have been visitors, and they were kind of out on these rocks, and then all of a sudden the water came up, and like they were lucky they didn't get snatched out back to sea, but they got some bumps and bruises from it, and even their cars were parked so close. It was like, oh my gosh. Obviously, they shouldn't have been doing that, right? But, did they really think about it beforehand? Okay. That's the power of discernment, right? It's like, yeah, well, we could do this, but so anyway. All right, hopefully those two, all right. See how we're doing here. The Page of Wands, but it wanted to come out in reverse. So there might be a message, but the message might be coming from someplace unexpected. Okay. Whereas, say traditionally it's like, oh, I'm getting something in the mail or blah, blah, blah. No, this is something where it's going to come like in a dream, in a vision, in some kind of sensory um or auditory, type thing where you're, conversing with your ancestors. That's how this message is going to come about. And, matching up with the alive card, it's reminding you to live your life to the fullest, in a way that feels good and safe for you, right? Not saying be reckless with your body, not saying, you know what I mean? Like this was coming through the other day, nobody's saying you have to be celibate, but if you're going to go have fun, wrap it up, right? Like, that's what they make condoms for. Like, come on, like people are just so irresponsible sometimes these days. And it's not to say that people weren't irresponsible before, okay? But we have tools now to make life easier again. So use those tools, right? Okay. Yeah. High Priestess. Mm-hmm. You don't necessarily rely on what other people tell you. You judge for yourself, and that makes you a powerful entity that some people do not understand nor enjoy. I'll put it that way. Have you ever been called a know-it-all, or oh, you just have to be right about blah, blah, blah. It's just like, oh, sorry, we're having a conversation. Like, and then now you're gonna get all bent out of shape about it, because somebody happens to know something about the topic. Right, like other people know things too, right? And that's part of people who can rely on that knowing understand, because they understand they're going to get the answers if they try hard enough, right? It's not about faking it till you make it necessarily. When it's like, well, why are we just going to go randomly when there's this person here that we can just ask, those kind of things, right? It's really weird. I also watched this, it was Alfred Hitchcock Hour last night, and it was kind of a spooky episode. It was about this couple that owned a peach farm, and there was a migrant worker that came by, and the migrant worker was played by Bruce Dern. Okay. And yeah, it was in filmed, and of course because it was Alfred Hitchcock Hour, when it was filmed, but it was you could really get the tension, and it was really a good thriller for an hour long show anyway, and it had a very interesting ending, which I was like, and it was almost one of those, it's like, wow, they allowed that on TV, you know what I mean? So, sometimes that whole pearl clutching of today is a little outdated, because it's like society has already been through this. So again, if you expand and open your mind, you'll know that quite easily, right? But there's people that want you to bury their head in the sand, right? And never want you to read only their book, right? They don't want you to drive, right? Oh, I'll take care of you. I'll do everything for you. Yeah, then you end up living in their world, not in your world, right? These dogs. Oh, look at that. The 10 of Cups. All right. Gratitude. So, having an attitude of gratitude. For some of you, that means realizing that you have kind of everything that you want and need from an emotional fulfillment standpoint. Like, yep, this is pretty good. Like, this is kind of, you know, it's like, when people are like, oh, well, what's next? What's next? What's next? It's like, what do you mean, what's next? What else did you want? You know? And when you start looking at your life from a gratitude standpoint, right, then you start seeing more of that. It's easier to see more instead of where a lot of the rat race is with seeing and feeling in lack. Okay. Okay, interesting. Okay, now so this is interesting because this wanted to come out in reverse, the Lover's card, and on the bottom of the deck's Ace of Swords. So, yeah, this says play. This wanted to come out in reverse. I have to say, be careful if somebody's trying to play you. Because some people be like, oh, well, if I don't have the perfect relationship, then my life's just a waste. No, it's not. I mean, some people enter into relationships solely to mess with the other people. Ah! Okay. So it's like, and I'll say this from advice that I've given before. When somebody was having some confusion about somebody they were, had a situation with, okay? And I sat down next to this person and I just said, I understand what you're talking about, but is that the relationship you want? And he was like, well, he didn't really think so at that point. So it's like, well, you want to stress yourself out about something that you don't even want, right? Or you put a cap on it and you move on, right? So, finding these mutual connections through play, I would say maybe, especially if you're approaching dating, looking for that special love, right? To keep it kind of lighthearted, okay? Because so many times we're shown the wrong one and we think because of how somebody looks or, things you might have in common or whatever, that supposedly this is the person or this is going to be a good partner for you. And then so many people figure out that that's not the case. Okay. So, letting yourself play and, in a way be non committal, okay, um, allows you to seek the right connection. Okay. Not just one just because. Okay. So, yes, somebody in the chat said contentment. Exactly. It's not always about being the happiest of happies, about right? Like what is that? You know what I mean? Like what you're gonna have the moment of winning the Oscar every single, I mean, sometimes life does feel like that though when you are just aligned and you're feeling good. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? But it's also contentment knowing that, you know what, even if I hadn't won that award, I would have been happy with my performance and, what I left on the floor. You know, I gave it what I could during that time. And for some of us, it's way beyond what we should have been given anyway. And that's how we get ourselves into trouble. And then that's when we have to pull back. I'm like, And it's like, was that expansive the right expansive for us? Okay. And so then we have the star card. Again, this wanted to come out in reverse. So, yeah, Ten of Swords. Okay. So for some people, and I'm getting especially like industry related, okay. So some people could be like, oh, well, if I want to be in this, then I have to do this, this, and this, or else I won't get the contract, right? I have to wear this clothing by these people, so this management team will accept this and blah, 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 right? And, does that make you the star, or were you already having that star quality? Like, when Marilyn Monroe showed up to the photo shoot and they did the potato sack, right? The potato sack shoot. Okay. Um, so, again, this expansive here, may you connect to the whole. Don't let, the driver of this become something that separates you. Okay, if that makes sense. All right. Maybe it's just because I saw the Grammys last night too. And I wasn't a fan of some of the skin fashion, and maybe I'm sounding like an old fuddy duddy, but I just think that some of it was not necessary to achieve the fashion aspect, I guess is how I viewed it. But I really did love almost like all of the performances and everything. I thought they did such a good job on the production of the show, and I mean for it being like, I think that's like a live show, right? So you know what I mean. That was pretty wild, especially like the first act where they did the whole airport scene and stuff. I thought that was so cute and it was fun. You know what I mean? It was giving that kind of that star quality, like, and she was like walking on that moving runway, and I'm like, oh my god, I hope she doesn't fall, right? But it was just like you could tell she was like, I got this performance, and even if I, was to fall on my bum, she would have just probably like kicked up her leg and been like, ha ha, you know what I mean? Something goofy, but like understanding that that's part of the act, right? Okay. So connecting to the whole, not being so separated from everything, not being like, oh well, I have to have it this way because I'm the star, blah, blah, blah. It's like, excuse me, like, you know what I mean? All like, hey, hey, okay. So yeah, Ten of Swords. So I feel like this is kind of, yeah, what you may be overcoming. All right. So that might be actually the message. Also, a shift in the fortune. Okay. So if some things had been going negatively, I feel like you're going to start going in more of the positive direction, especially financially. Okay. And that is through your personal efforts, right? Where, yeah, maybe there were some things that you were like, okay, um, we'll do this, this, and this, but really what I want to do is get back to this, right? Well, because you were spending time doing that, it put some of these wheels of fortune on the back burner. Okay. And then what happened, right? When you started, right, getting away from this. And the thing is, it's like so many people think they can avoid the Ten of Swords. And that's not really what life is about. It's about how you recover from the Ten of Swords. Because trust me, there will be situations, right? Even the most loyal person, right? Okay. And it doesn't matter. There will be situations where it's like, so if you don't try and stay on business, then that wheel of fortune will remain in the reverse, right? Versus going in the direction that it needs to be. Okay. All right. I feel like that's about all for this reading. Again, hello. everybody in the chat. Please do like the video, especially if you've been in the chat today. Remember, you do not have to be a subscriber in order to like the video. And I never ask for donations, only you're donating your time watching the video. And if you don't have the ad-free version of YouTube, I think it's called YouTube Premium, then you have to watch the ads through. Unless you're watching a live, I suppose. Probably don't see ads during a live. So, ta-da! I mean, I don't know. I'm on this side, you know what I mean? So anyway, appreciate those likes as this content is provided from me to you that way. Anyway, until I have, loads and loads of subscribers, right? I have to wait for that wheel that wheel of fortune to go the other way, right? When it comes to, say, um doing certain things with the channel. And I was thinking about this also earlier, and this issue has been around since people started trying to incorporate the internet into business, right? There's always been, the online store versus the brick and mortar model, right? And the thing is, we might appear in 2D on our, video screens and television screens, but we live in a 3D world, right? So brick and mortar still has to exist in some form, right? So, just kind of think about that as you're watching readings or content creators in general, because, the way that you need to put your time and effort needs to satisfy you and not their needs, which their needs may not line up with where you're going or what you'll be working on in the future. And that's not necessarily any fault of anybody. Sometimes that's just a growth process, right? And sometimes going off on your own here, the fool, starting your own business, being producing your own material, like I'm unscripted here on on YouTube. When there were times when I would jot down some notes and things before I would go live, blah, blah, and I'd be do it tomorrow. Now I just kind of remember, but I've always had a pretty good memory. Almost, I wouldn't say a photographic memory, but I've always had a very good memory in general. So anyway, yeah. And part of that, again, that play, allowing where we place so much expectation on the love relationship, sometimes getting rid of that expectation allows us to play and have fun with our lives so that we do bump into, right? Yeah, it was just we do bump into the right ones. Okay. So anyway, especially since you also have the 10 of cups here. I mean, come on now. High Priestess, 10 of Cups, Lovers, Star, and Page of Wands. Maybe this is the message that you needed for 2026 when it comes to potential romance, right? Having the romance starting with yourself, releasing the expectations, and then, right, letting worlds collide. Okay? Because, if you hadn't noticed, we're all out here floating in space a little bit. We're just held down by gravity, right? Thank you, John Mayer, of reminding us that Sir Isaac Newton discovered gravity and brought us physics, right? Anybody else take physics out there? I sure did. I even took physics when I was at my university getting my undergrad degree. So, fun times. These are the fun times. Leave your cares behind. All right. I'm getting out of here. Okay, so everybody enjoy the rest of your full moon post phase, right? And say, okay, maybe tomorrow everyone's going to get back to normal, but I don't know. We got the Super Bowl this coming weekend, so maybe not, right? Just stay safe out there. Okay. Bye-bye. Manifest wisely.